So let's still stay with the vetting, indeed, through our focus on the vetting of the Minister-Designate for Roads and Highways, the Honorable Kwame Govins-Agboja, and see how that vetting went today. From what we know, it took 4 hours, 4 minutes for his vetting, starting some minutes after 10. Now, in all, about 85 questions were asked Kwame Govins-Agboja over the area he intends to superintend, which is the roads and highways area. Now, the top issues that the questions were thrown around were roads, as well as commitment and debt in the industry. The issue to do with the return of tolls was very critical in his question as well, and also issues to do with contracts, whether there will be renegotiations, review, etc. of contracts. Now, in the end, 85 questions asked, 60 of those questions came from the minority side, while 25 of those questions came from the majority side. With the minority, the most asked questions came from their leader, the Honorable Alexander Afenyo-Markin, who asked as many as 36 questions. And the most questions from the majority side came from the Honorable Shaibu Mahama. So what were the questions around? 12.94 of the questions were around personal issues to do with the Honorable Kwame Govins-Agboja. And 8.23% of the questions was around his CV, his qualification, his background, among others. With current issues to do with the industry, 50.58% of the questions went into that, including contracts, road tolls, road development, road infrastructure, timelines, return of some of the major road developments, among others. Now, 4.70% of the questions were around the manifesto promises. Promises made by the president during the campaign, as well as some key people in the current government during the campaign period, as well as past statements from key government officials, among others, during parliamentary sessions and many other platforms in the period. And finally, issues to do with amendments also, from what we have gleaned, were about 9.41%. And finally, assurances on whether he would fix some of the roads, whether he would open road infrastructure, and whether he would continue some of the road infrastructure that have been put on hold, was about 3.52%. So we'll still stay with that, and we're joined in the studio by a former Minister of Roads during the Atta Mills era, the Honorable Joe Gidisu, to take us through what is expected of the Minister-Designate, that's if he's improved. And also remember, he was a Member of Parliament for the Central Tong constituency, among others. The Honorable Joe Gidisu, welcome.
Thank you, Vivian. It's a pleasure being with you this evening.
We're happy to have you here. I'll go straight quickly to the issues to do with road infrastructure, a huge, sector with huge challenges. From your experience being a minister, during the Atta Mills era, and what you know about the industry, what are some of the key challenges facing this industry now?
I think, in the first place, I want to congratulate my junior brother, Honorable Kwame Agboja, for the very excellent performance at the vetting today. Okay. He was on top of issues. And I want to say that it's one of the very challenging ministries, looking at the fact that almost every part of the country is inundated with the poor road infrastructure. And they are expecting that those roads to be fixed. Some are in very deplorable conditions. And as had been exposed during the vetting, the money to back this expectation is really very suspect. So I know it's going to be a very big challenge for him, but I don't doubt the commitment of the government led by our President John Mahama through the various interactions he have had and the assurances that we have that the country is in good standing by way of the expectations. And my brother, I know, will definitely be on top of the issues in that ministry.
Right. It's a ministry or an industry that has to rely on huge funding, and we're talking about during the vetting 50 billion or so. Can we get that amount of money to deal with the challenges in the industry?
Where there is a will, there is a way. And I know that as we are all aware of the fact that we have very lean resources available for the infrastructure, we should be in the main be ready to at least accommodate the initial challenges that may come. But I am very much aware that the ingenuity of the president, supported by the sector ministers, especially the finance minister, we should be able to allocate the needed resources within the constraints of the budget towards those roads that will need immediate attention, and variably they will have to phase them out to see how best we can take on board the challenges of the sector across board. My brother coming from the Volta region, our people have very high expectations.
The pressure will be huge,
wouldn't it be? Very huge. And that is the situation. But you will have to balance the needs of the region alongside that of the other regions. And because it's not only the sector minister for the Volta region, he's the minister for the whole country. And this is a situation that I would want to appeal to our countrymen in the region to at least give him the briefing space as he navigates this very difficult contour of coordinating the road sector in the country.
Okay. We return back into the studio and continue our conversation with the former roads minister, the Honorable Joe Gedisu, because remember, earlier today, the position for who will be minister for roads in terms of the vetting was done by Parliament, and we all know that the nominee is the Honorable Governance Agboja. But let me come back to you, Honorable, on the current state of debt to road contractors. Every year we see road contractors complaining about this debt. How do you think this challenge can be tackled?
Vivian, I think this has been a perennial problem in the road sector, and the situation has been worsened by the cutting away the road fund, which was the main source for supporting especially the maintenance of the road network throughout the country. So over the years, especially within the last 8 years, this had risen out of hand. And as noted by the incoming minister, there is a need to revisit the steps that the previous ministers were taking, that there should be a national roundtable discussion with stakeholders as to how to address this phenomenon. Because within our current circumstances, it will be very difficult to get the needed funding for the sector. So I would strongly equally back that call, that there is a need for an immediate roundtable discussion of stakeholders to judge as to how they could be addressing this alongside the budgetary provisions that government may be making for the sector. And if you look at the number of questions that were asked today, which is arising out of the expectations of almost every member of parliament representing their constituents all over the country, the situation of this outstanding funds, which are the payments that have to be made to these contractors, is still going to linger on, and will definitely affect the performance of the ministry, and for that matter, the industry. So the issue of getting a more dependable source of funding brings into focus the road tolls that the minister talked about.
So you supported the return of the toll?
Very well, because I was the minister that took up or stepped up the road tolls to the extent that we automated most of the toll points in the country. And we had in all almost about 31 tolling points on the roads throughout the country. If we had continued by way of improving on the performance of the tolling system, it would have gone a long way by now to help address the maintenance of roads and the challenges that confront the road sector. So I would strongly support the reintroduction of the road fund, the road tolls.
But which form would you want it to take? You started the automation. Obviously, we're unable to take it to the next level. When you go to the likes of the US, etc., you don't have to stop to be told. Signals can be picked on your cars, and then it's deducted automatically from your accounts and all that.
Yeah, Vivian, we were there. If those of motorists who were using the Tema Accra motorway, we raised it to the point that we have the e-lane whereby you could buy your ticket for about a month, 2 weeks, a month, or even 3 months at a rebate. And you don't need to stop at the point to buy your ticket. And those who were, that means that applies to the regular users of that corridor. But if you are a person who only drives through there once a while, you could go to the manual tolling points. Today, my brother was talking about raising it to a level whereby you don't need to even stop at any point in time. I would want to tell them to hasten slowly.
Why?
Because it is a very ambitious situation he's talking about. Look at our problem of electricity power supply, which will definitely affect the process. And one thing also is that we employ some of these people with disabilities. So help. It is an employment generation also to look at some of the tolling points. Of course, the busy points like the Accra Tema motorway, the Kasua road, and those ones could be lifted to that level. But when you go beyond Accra, definitely you cannot be talking about that type of tolling. And it will also be helpful to use it as a way of employment in our circumstances. So as much as we are expecting to raise it to that level, we should also be looking at least for now, using it as a source of employment. Because even at the vetting today, I heard some of the MPs talking about the need to employ such type of people. So it is not only the generation of income
and
revenue,
the use of technology, but other considerations.
To use it to support the employment of those people in the system.
We're still in the studio with the former roads minister as well as the former member of parliament for Central Tong, the Honorable Joe Gidiso, looking at the road industry and matters arising. So, Honorable, there's a lot of things that have come out from this vetting as well as what we know in looking at the road sector, which affects all of us because everybody uses a road to go home, to go to work, etc. But as the Honorable Governance comes into office, if he's approved, that is, what should be the key things he should be looking at? There are issues to do with funding, there's issues to do with infrastructure proper and all that, but what do you think should be the critical areas he should focus immediately he takes office?
Thank you very much, Vivian. Just as the fact that he's not going to work alone, he's going to work with a team. So though the structures are there in the various agencies, he will have as the sector minister to see how best to consolidate his position with these agencies, the directorates in the various agencies, and that will be one of the first things he should be doing to make sure that he gets a solid team. Just as the president is putting together a solid team by way of appointing these ministers, it also behoves the sector minister to at least get interested in those people that will be working in the various directorates of the ministry. We have 3 key agencies, the roads and highways, the urban roads, and the feeder roads. And the ministry itself also has a core staff at the place. So all these directorates will need officers who should be people of like-minded to us to help him consolidate the position of getting the road projects that are coming on board to be driven. So I would want to make him feel free to take up the situation of the appointment of directors.
So his first thing is the people he's going to work with. Okay.
That is first and foremost. And thereafter, I think so far as the awareness is among all of us that the road sector needs support, he should work closely with the Minister for Finance, because that is one area which will need his support. And I was lucky then. Dr. Kwabena Dufo was a very cooperating person, and every little payment they make sure that the road ministry had its fair share. So whilst doing that, he should have a very adequate overview of the road network in the country. You cannot just be a desk-bound minister, as much as everybody is talking about. At times, it is when you go out. That was why most of the time he will be on the run throughout the whole country. And that will make you have an on-the-spot assessment and feel of the situation of the roads in those areas.
Should he focus on continuing current projects or starting new ones in key areas that really need infrastructure?
Whatever he'll be doing in the ministry have to dovetail into the manifesto, and for that matter, the agenda of the government as a whole. We, through the president, has assured the Ghanaian populace that we will not refuse working on or finishing the road projects. So he will have to see how best to carry on those projects alongside the new ones that will be initiated by the government through him. So it will be a way of how best he can synchronize those projects into the overall agenda of government. And I hope he will not forget that the expectations are high. Back home in his own region, I would want to caution him that as a road minister, he will have to equally be very flexible in terms of the demands from the region alongside those from the other regions of the country.
Okay, a man of experience and wisdom indeed. Thank you very much, the Honorable Joe Kidiso, former Member of Parliament for Central Tongue, as well as former Minister of Roads.